being put there. And probably at some point we'll talk about the record on corruption. Because you remember in 2002, Victor, when President Kibaki takes over the reins of power, there was something called citizen arrest. In the sense that you are caught on the wrong end of the law. It's actually citizens who will arrest you
to a police station
and actually take you to a police station.
Right.
And the war on corruption had really picked up so well. I don't know at what point then the ball dropped, because that's when now the Anglo-leasing scandal and stuff like that, the cemetery scandal, the Triton scandal, that's when they came about. But in the first years of President Kibaki, you would admit that the country had made quite huge strides in terms of fighting corruption. And it had started at the lowest of levels.
Because, you know, citizen arrest is still active right now. Even you right now, if you find somebody breaking the law, then you're mandated or you're allowed to escort someone to a police station. And that is why, have you ever noticed that anytime a police officer, or in any situation where there is a mob justice, a police officer will tell you one thing. You better take this guy to a police station, musimuwe. All right? Because when you take an injured person to a police cell, if he dies there, then the case will change. So the only thing you need to do, that's why police officers, when they arrest you, they will escort you to a police station. They don't clobber you, they don't, you know, batter you or beat you up. They escort you to a police station.
And probably it is important at this point to engage Steve Mogake and, you know, ask this very question of, obviously running in the corridors of justice because he's a lawyer. What is the missing link in the war against corruption? Because at some point we appear like we are winning the war against corruption.
At the same time,
all of a sudden it looks like we're making 10 steps behind.
Right.
Wakili Mogake, what is the problem?
Thank you, Kiri. The problem is us. And it can't be explained better than that us Kenyans have all the laws and toolkits to fight and combat corruption, but none of us are keen to utilize it. One of such tool is what we've just spoken about, the citizen arrest. Because every Kenyan has a duty to prevent a crime, to report a crime, and to assist in apprehending a person who commits a crime. All corruption is done under some nose of Kenyans, and we countenance it. And therefore, the biggest obstacle towards the fight against corruption is the Kenyans themselves. By countenancing it, by failing to show zero tolerance to corruption, that's why we are where we are. Remember also that aside from the citizen arrest, we have actually three types of arrests. There's arrest, the ordinary one we know by the police. The second type of arrest is arrest by magistrate, because if you think there is some sacred cow somewhere who is not arrestable by the police or members of the public, then you can actually make an application to a magistrate's court, and the magistrates will issue a warrant of arrest, and that type of arrest, we call it a magistrate's arrest. And again, then there is that citizen's arrest. So ask myself, out of the 40 to 50 million Kenyans that we are here, how many of us have never witnessed a crime or an act of corruption? And more importantly, how many of us have taken their civic duty to arrest or cause to be arrested the perpetrators of that corruption? Indeed, let us confess that Kenya can only be as good as us, and if we are tolerant of corruption, then we make an enabling environment for the sprouting and flourishing of corruption.
Ooh, the ball is in your court, Victor.
All right. So let's talk about Mbata's economy. And before we took a break, of course, you were so passionate about the issue of the growth of our economy. And something Kira has also mentioned, that during Kibaki's tenure, we had a tremendous growth. That's something that we can talk about right now. But then now, as we speak, everybody's lips is tunaumia, tunaumia, tunaumia. How can we save the situation as a country? At the end of the day, we need to feel some, some ease, kumfuko. No?
Thank you. My thinking as a finance expert, particularly on development finance, there are grievous mistakes that we have committed as a country, and I will cite a few of them by exposing the way the Kibaki government did it,
yes,
as opposed to how we are doing it. President Kibaki, as I said, raised money locally using infrastructure bonds to generate money for development expenditure. And the meaning of that is that the interest or profit on those debts were paid to local Kenyans. So that money generated profit and therefore spurred growth in the economy. The other key thing with Kibaki's government is that he insisted on local contractors, meaning that the development expenditure in this country went to Kenyans' hands and pockets, and therefore we created a multiplier effect, because it is then these local contractors who employed local employees, who employed local security people, who employed everything local. What we are doing now is completely opposite that, because we are taking foreign debt, very expensive short-term foreign debt. We are contracting foreign contractors who come in with virtually everything, so that we are doing what in economics we used to describe as a wholesale transportation of a foreign infrastructure, rather foreign expertise, and therefore paying them heavily using foreign exchange, and therefore the country is paying out so much and therefore bleeding, and that is why we are almost getting asphyxiated, because we are bleeding this country instead of growing it. And that is why I am saying that going forward, as a country, and to get out of this vicious cycle of external debt,
yes,
we need a responsible legislature that will enact laws that they intend to be applied in this country. And if we put a debt ceiling, let it be a debt ceiling that is well thought of, that is informed, and that is going to be enforced.
But even as you talk about the debt ceiling, even the arm of the legislature, actually, people would argue that surpassed the debt ceiling that was set.
Precisely.
Yes.
That is why I am saying that when we have a bunch of jokers who say we are enacting a law putting a debt ceiling, no sooner does that get signed as a law, another debt ceiling is being...
Yes.
That is not a ceiling at all.
Yeah.
Because a ceiling is meant to be a ceiling. And really that is where our problem is, that our Ministry of Planning, if we ever have one in office, is not able to come and think through our 5-year plan, our call it 30-year plan. We used to have a 2030 development plan. We are not operating by that, and we are not being driven by our ability to generate revenue and our ability to absorb debt. Because it is one thing to take debt, but it is another story to have the capacity to absorb debt.
Wakili, just to cut you short, my problem with the local contractors, as you put it,
yes.
You remember 22nd of October in 2017, the Sigiri Bridge in Western Kenya.
Yes.
Kioria, Sigiri Bridge was built within no days, it was down again, and local contractors, and perhaps that is why the current government opted for international contractors, because I will give you a contract, just get me a 500-meter bridge at a cost of, and what we see next, a bridge collapsing after a few days.
True. That is why I told you that we need a serious legislature that will do serious and efficient oversight in this republic.
Okay.
Because remember, the example you are alluding to is a sad example of condoning, eating, and living corruption. Because remember, a contractor, whether local or foreign, has certain requirements they must fulfill before they are awarded that contract. One of them being giving a performance bond from a very reputable insurance company or a bank. So much so that if they do a shoddy job, the cost of that contract is supposed to be paid back by the insurance company.
Right.
And there's no insurance company or bank that is going to give a performance contract to an incompetent kind of situation. So what you are describing is not even a question of local contractor or not. That is a designed scheme to steal public money by making sure that there is no bridge at all. At the end of the day, they are using the purported bridge project to siphon public money. And sadly, the users of that bridge do not express sufficient outrage, do not come out to report those thieves, and nobody takes any step or action against those thieves of public money and pretenders masquerading as contractors when they are not. That is why, in my humble view, we will only grow at the growth rate that this country, as Kenyans, we have chosen to. Otherwise, if we continue celebrating, remember, whoever was the contractor of that collapsed bridge may have stood as an MCA using the same money they have stolen, and he has been voted in overwhelmingly. So then where are we?
Then where are we?
Then where are we?
Kioria, where are we?
But of course, the live pictures you continue seeing on your screen are pictures from Parliament as Kenyans continue to witness the viewing of the body of the late President Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki. And obviously, when you talk about the Sigiri Bridge, I think it collapsed faster than the Tower of Babel, but let's take a breather. When it comes back, we pick it up. Obviously, also with Ronald Meru, who is the chairman of the Muthaiga Golf Club. And we'll talk about, interestingly, he's the vice chair of the alumni of Mangu, where President Kibaki studied. So it'd also be important to, to understand the contribution of President Kibaki in Mangu High School. But that is after this breather.
Going to be auctioned off. And she lent money to Jack on purpose with my stock shares as pledge. She schemes with Pinky to get us down. What an...
I have always loved you. I'm overjoyed that you came back to life.
Why are you still begging her to come back to you?
Can you just stay out of my sight, you crazy woman? You're to blame for all of this.
My husband stole your land? How could he know your father at all?
Go back and ask him about it.
If Monica came to ask for a recommendation letter, then that means she wants to start working again. It's about time that his wife and his family find out exactly what kind of man Gonzalo Murat is.
And put myself on the line.
If Ines finds out, I don't know if she could forgive you for cheating on her for so many years, Gonzalo.
Please, you went there to choke the woman I love. And if you put me in a position where I have to choose between her and you, I'm always going to choose her.
What excuse will you use this time for not getting a divorce and marrying me?
Madam, Mr. Edgar is hurting the little boy. Please come, madam.